the very first thing we're going to do is learn why a power chord is called a power chord. And I'm going to start with a C power chord, which is going to be a root on the 5th string. Now here's my 5th string, right? Okay, if I need to go up to my C note, it would be here, which is the 3rd fret, 5th string. Now a power chord only contains really 2 distinct notes, the root and the 5th. And the power chord is going to sound like this. Okay, so in this case it's going to be C and G. And you can play it like this, or you can play it like that. Sometimes you can double up the octave, which would be C again. So if this is C, we go up 8 notes in our C major scale. Here's my C. So I have the root, which is C, then I have the 5th, which is G, and then I have another C. Okay, so the intervals in this chord would be the root, the 5th, and the octave. Okay, it only contains 2 distinct pitches, C and G. Okay, and so that is a power chord. It's neither major nor minor. Okay, it would have to sound like this to be major, or like this to be minor. But it doesn't have that 3rd degree, which we'll talk about that in a minute. It only has the root and the 5th. So here are C, E, and G, or I should say C and G, and then their C is repeated. Now, because of the nature of the guitar, you can play the exact same note in different places on the fretboard, with a few exceptions of some of the lower notes and some of the higher notes. But in this particular case, with C, you can play this exact note here, or you can play this note here. You hear how that's exact same pitch? So 3rd fret 5th string is exactly the same pitch as 8th fret 6th string. So that means that I can take that chord that I was playing here, and I can move the exact same chord right here. Okay? It's going to sound a little bit different as far as the tone. It's a little bit warmer because it's further up the neck like this, as opposed to... That has to do with the gauge of the string, the fact that I'm playing on the 6th string. It's a bigger string. It kind of has a warmer tone. But as far as the notes go, it's exactly the same. Also, if you look at the example I've given you, I've not only given you the fretboard, but I've also given you the notation and the tablature. And one thing I want to point out about notation is that with notation, it doesn't tell you where to place your fingers on the fretboard. It only tells you which notes need to be played. So if you look at the notation, we're in the treble clef staff, which is the staff that you need to know to be able to play guitar. And of course the line notes are E, G, B, D, and F, E, G, B, D, and F, and then the space notes are F, A, C, and E. Well, if you look at that notation, you'll see C, G, and C, and from the bottom to the top. And you don't even need to know how to read notation to understand the point that I'm making, which is look at the C that's played here, then look at the C that's played here, and you'll see that the notes on both of those chords, regardless of whether I play it here or here, it's exactly the same notes, C, G, and C. Okay? And then the tab dictates whether you play it here or here. Okay? Now you might say, well, how will I know if I'm playing it here or here if I just have the notation? And the answer is, you don't know. That's what makes guitar actually kind of difficult. With the piano, you don't have that issue. Like, for example, this note right here on the piano is always going to be middle C. Always, always, always. It's never going to be anything other than that. But with guitar, just because of the nature of the instrument, certain notes can be played in different places. This happens to be one of them. This C, G, and C chord can be played here and here. The notation is exactly the same. You'd have to look at the tablature or look at the fretboard diagram that I've given you to know which is which, okay? So that is our basic power chord, and of course that chord is movable because it has no open strings. So it can be played here, here, or you can play it on the 6th string. Okay, and of course, that would be the open position with the old E power chord. So that is your power chord, and next we're going to talk about the major chord.